You are now entering the Queenz Quarters. We are powerful, strong, and rulers in our own right. There's a queen in you. There's a queen in me. Every woman is a queen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Queenz Quarters. I'm Queen Tans, representing the 40s Club.
Hello, I'm Queen Emma and I represent the 60s Club.
Hello, I'm Queen T, representing the 50s Club.
Hi, I'm Queen Ty. I'm repping the 50s.
Hi, I'm Queen Ty, representing the early 40s.
What's up, everybody? I'm Queen Lady B, and I'm representing the late 30s.
Hey y'all, I'm Queen Nye, representing the early 30s.
Hi guys, I'm Queen Shay and I'm representing the Dub Club.
Hi, I'm King Bernie. I represent the 50s Club.
I'm King Kevin. I'm representing the 40s Club.
I'm King Ty. I'm representing the 40s Club.
I'm King Reggie, representing the early 40s Club as well.
Love and light, everybody. I'm King Corey, and I'm representing the late 30s Club.
Hey, welcome back, kings and queens. This is our part 2. So you just heard us introduce ourselves. You know who everybody is. And now, here is our show to be continued. Questions with the kings.
I want to chime in too.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're bringing baggage with you.
Mm-hmm. But understand, it's not, and I didn't think I had to go to that level, you guys, to say, hey, listen, I found a way to deal with the things, who I am as a person, who I've been in relationship. Those were things that I definitely had to work on to become who I am today, to become a saved woman. And you guys that's on the line that know that God can do anything and he can heal the heart. So my heart has been healed. When there's certain situation that arises before, I don't deal with it the way I would deal with it then. So understand, even though I didn't give you every detail, these are things that I had to deal with becoming who I am today, is to deal with, those past relationships, letting those people go, releasing myself from them, having that spiritual warfare. I ain't want to have to go there, but I'm just saying, like, those are things I had to deal with to become the new creature in Christ. I just didn't get saved overnight. These are things I had to deal with to become who I am.
And I thank you for that. I thank you for saying that, Queen T. But also too, but a lot of times, and I'm not speaking in reference to your situation, I'm just speaking in general, you will find that people said, I've gotten better. And guess what? They right back with the same joker with a different size shoe.
You absolutely
know what?
right.
I want to chime in, guys. It's easy to be healed when you don't have to be reminded of what happened to you. I feel like you're in a safe space being healed when you don't have to challenge that by dating someone. Okay, say like for instance, Trey said, I've been single for 5 years. I'm healed. God got me. But when you have to trust again and date again, your pain will always haunt you. But it will always be a memory, but it's up to you to know how to silence it or not. If you let that thing manifest, it's okay to have a moment. We all have them, but if you let it manifest, that's something totally different. So to piggyback on, I think what King Reggie said, if I'm on a date and I'm looking to wait to hear if you're going to say something that's going to remind me of Raheem, I'm not ready. Why am I there?
Exactly.
Even be there. I'm not ready to move on with my life. Like pain is not something that we just forget, but you got to know what to do. When that flashback comes, like even when something reminds you of someone from the past, this is not John. I can't even think you really have to coach
That's why
yourself
you gotta
because
be healed.
Yeah,
that's why you gotta be healed.
Exactly.
But
again,
Trace,
that old stuff back. Right, but it's easy. It's comfortable to be healed. It's not challenging when you're not dating.
Yeah.
I've done it before, like, oh, I'm good, I'm free. But the minute I'm dating, I'm like,
you gotta put it to the test.
That nervousness started arising, like, what if this happens to me again? But it's only up to me to decide, like, girl, like you shared, King Bernie, either I'm gonna wipe this slate clean, or I need to go sit down somewhere and just finish healing because I'm not really.
And how about this? So this
I agree.
A question: how do y'all know when y'all healed?
Who was that? Was that Corey speaking? What were you saying, Corey?
Yeah, he was offering up a question, and I was I had a cliffhanger in my spirit about something that that Queen T shared at the beginning of this call, and I thought that we kind of got back to it in a way, and I wanted to probe a little bit more there because I'm very curious about something concerning. So when talking about, and T, you shared a bit about the healing that you've experienced and some of the things that you went through and some of the things that you had to do in order to get to the place that you are. And we were talking about the warfare. You was like, I won't get into it. And Bernie was like, no, get into it, like go or whatever. So one, I just wanted to acknowledge and just appreciate like you sharing a bit of what that situation may have been in order for you to get where you are. And when we opened, you said, because I have arrived. And there was just something about that language that is still like really sticking with me, right? Because I'm thinking about myself personally. And if you can allow me, let's just engage for a moment. If you and I were dating and you offered that to me and you said, and I got to make it personal because I don't live anybody's life other than my own, right? So if we were dating and you said to me like, yo, because I have arrived, or even if your energy was such that it said like you had arrived, I would be like, okay, I'm a little concerned now. Because here's the thing, you know about all of the work that you have done in order to get to the place that you are, but I didn't have a seat at the table. So I don't know what you were before, and I can't see all of the stuff that you've done. And so for you to say to me that you have arrived, it makes me feel like that I just have to accept anything that you offer me. And it was, for me personally, I would even say, I would be like, if she's operating out of, there's a thin line to me between, I don't think any of us have arrived. I haven't arrived. I'll always be in pursuit. I've grown, but I haven't arrived, if that makes any sense. And I'll continue to grow, and I'll continue to pursue it. I'll continue to chase all of it, right? But if I say that I have arrived, I've absoluted myself, and I know I made that word up, but I offer an absoluteness that just says like, if you offer something to me that I need to work on, I may not receive it because I told you that I have arrived, because this is where I was and this is where I am now. So I'm very curious about that, because for me, I would share that like, I'm still working on it, I'm still figuring it out, and I've come a long way as per where I was, but I have not arrived, and it doesn't leave the space for the person that I'm engaging with to be a part of my journey to continue to grow.
Yeah, it stops. There's no growth after you arrive.
Exactly.
There's no growth after I've arrived, okay, but people don't realize the goalpost keeps getting moved.
It keeps changing.
Thank you, Corey, for asking me that question. But when you first asked me that question, maybe it was a bad choice of words, but when you first asked me that question, I always said, I'm in a place of learning, constantly learning. And because I know me better than I don't know why I'm a little bleary. I know me better than anybody on this panel know me. I'm the type of person that I'm workable and I'm open. So like if whatever the situation is, I'm open to learning, I'm open to growing. I have not, even though I'm representing the 50 Club, I haven't gotten to that place in life where I'm like, okay, I'm everything I'm going to be, and I'm everything I am and everything I'm going to be right at this moment. So I don't feel that way. So even when I said that earlier, I came back to you and said, I'm forever learning. But I also feel like I'm very open to ideas, to doing things. I hear a lot of people in my age bracket and up, and they say, oh, I've been doing this for the last 50 years. I've been doing this for the last 60 years. And I'm like, but that don't mean you need to stay that way. You know, so I'm open to, so maybe a bad choice of words, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to clean it up a little bit. So
listen,
don't hold me to that.
Charge it to my heart, my head.
I just wanted us to spend more time there because I was really curious, more or less, about like what you share, and I appreciate you opening your life up to us. That means a lot.
Thank you.
So can I ask a question? That's maybe not so much relationshipy, but just you as a person. And I guess it does relate to you know, how you see other people or deal with other people. What are some things that are important to you all that are uncommon, you know, that we don't really talk about much when it comes to, well, this is valuable to me, and if you don't value that thing, that doesn't necessarily sit right with me. Kind of like politics. If you are a Democrat and I'm a Republican, you know, like, how do you deal with those things, and how, and you know, how do you get through them? And first of all, what are some things that are uncommon to you that people don't, that are important to you that people don't necessarily discuss when it comes to friendships and relationships?
Okay, let me jump in real quick. I think, and I'm going to use the term evolution as a general term. Last month, I brought Tansy on to our single saved. Yes, praise the Lord. Amen for the food break. Hallelujah. I brought Tanzania on for a segment that we do every fourth Thursday called Single Saved and Serving. So I brought her on, you know, to reference that space. And we were navigating through certain spaces. And one of the things that I shared as we were feeding back on one another, spoke to a space where, I said, excuse me, spoke to a space where I was sharing that evolution is key, because one of the challenges that we face in relationships, and this is if you don't know where you are, you know, which is why I appreciate the millennials, because you guys are very vocal with your perspective from the very beginning. But the changes or the evolution of relationships can center itself on the spectrum to where I'll get with you today based off of where I am in my life right now. So what happens when evolution happens in my life and I now am no longer on Chancellor Avenue, but I've made a left turn to Maple Avenue? You know what I'm saying? The question is, are you with me for every phase of my life? Because what happens if the, you know, like climate or the climax of our relationship brings us to the corner of Maple and Chancellor, but then now I'm making another turn, whether it's my education, whether it's the Lord, whether it's my job, and it takes me to another turn. And what happens when that turn now impacts the relationship? Because you thought, or you were okay, listen, when we got together on the corner of Elizabeth Avenue and Chancellor, you was loving it, okay? And you had no issues with walking. You know, we walked up, we saw the houses on the left. When we got to Bergen Street and Chancellor, we was cool. You know what I'm saying? You know, we walked up, you know, got past Good Neighbor, had our little church experience, you know, was still walking up, you know, and when we got to Maple and Chancellor, now my life is taking me this way, but we're in love now. You know what I'm saying? So what happens, you know, even for you women, I'm just using it just as a space of evolution, because that can make or break a relationship. Like I know we always talk about, you know, can't lie, can't cheat, can't do that. Right. You know what I'm saying? But what happens when faithfulness or the lack thereof is not the problem?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What happens in the relationship context where it's like, I really feel led to kind of change the direction of what I'm doing. I've been working in this particular area, and in order for me to create this opportunity, I may have to go back to school to do A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z, but I really, really feel that my life is taking me this way, and it's like, yeah, but I was comfortable walking with you up Chancellor Avenue, and now you're telling me that you are about to make a right turn, but I never saw myself going down Maple. I was comfortable walking with you up Chancellor, and I love our relationship. Like, we hold hands, we go to the Puerto Rican store, we go to the Chinese store, get them, chicken wings fried hard and chopped up, with the French fries, with, whatever. And I'm fine. I'm fine with you as long as we listen. I don't even care if we go all the way up Chancellor, but I'm comfortable with you as long as we stay on Chancellor Avenue. But what happens when life,
realistic
somewhere else?
Yeah, that's not realistic.
And how does that impact the relationship? Because again, there's no physical abuse, there's no, sexual misconduct. It's just God has something for me that's going to take me off of this comfy, loving block that you and I have created for ourselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then what happens to the relationship then?
You gotta know that life is forever changing. You're not going to be on that same path that you was when you was dating at 19, that you are at 40, at 50. Your life is forever changing. So you gotta learn how to adapt and support your mate as to whether he turned down Maple, whether he goes straight up Chancellor. You got to learn to support at every angle. That's what you're there for. That's what your marriage vows say.
It sounds like y'all talking about bus routes.
You have to bend. You have to bend. You have to bend just as well. You have to bend just as well as she's been for you. Because if not, she might go around on Prince Street and find what she's looking for.
Prince, you gotta be careful when they go.
That's true.
Wait.
So,
I don't know.
I have a question.
I wrote something down when we first started or whatever, and I don't know why, but like for me, and I think who asked this question earlier? Shay, forgive me if it wasn't you. I think it might have been you and me.
mhm.
What are some of those unique things?
Yeah.
Right. What are some of those unique, some of the nuanced things that are just like unorthodox left field? And for me, I was rooted and raised in the church. Is my background like really loud? Because I know like
We hear it, but it's not loud.
Okay. For me, I think that word unconditional comes up. And I think that word, particularly in the Christian faith, but maybe generally speaking, comes up, is used very loosely. Like, I will love you unconditionally.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what's worked best for me. If a woman decides to love me unconditionally, I would appreciate if she doesn't tell me that. I would appreciate if she kept that to herself.
Why?
Wow. And I know where you're going with this, but please go.
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I have not arrived yet. I'm working on it. And I'm trying to give myself grace too, because honestly, I'm not a horrible guy, but I'm rooted in a real transparency, right? And so I haven't arrived yet, and I'm still working on it. And if a woman says to me, "I love you without condition," and I'll stay with you no matter what.
Ooh.
Me, you have green lighted.
Yeah.
Parts of my person, and you have gaslighted parts of my person that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
And you did it in a very sincere way. You did it sincerely, and you love that you have me, but I didn't need you to share that with me right now. What you have done is you have opened the box that I'm trying to close and that I'm still working on, and I'm still struggling with whatever the case, and whatever that struggle may be, it's different. You know, it may be alcohol, it may be sex, it may be so many different things. But if you tell me that you will love me unconditionally, the messaging that I have received is just like, no matter what I do, you'll still be here.
Yeah.
And you're allowing me to be unfair to you. Because at the end of the day, you don't want me to do things that you don't agree with.
Jesus.
But telling me that you love me unconditionally has given me the space to do some things that you won't be proud of, but I know that you're still gonna be here.
Yeah.
That's not fair to you. So check this out. If you do feel that way, just please keep that to yourself, because I'm still in that particular area.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
I don't agree with that.
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me.
I know what you're saying.
Bernie doesn't agree, and I'm really excited about what you have to share, brother. But for me, what has worked, the women who said, no, there are some things that you can do that I'm not here for.
Okay.
And I will leave. And I am going to and in those situations, I knew when I did a cost benefit analysis that if I did it, that I probably wouldn't have something that I still want to hold on to.
Yeah.
And loving you unconditionally is not necessarily mean that I'm willing to accept whatever it is you do.
That's what
It
I was
means
gonna
I'm gonna
say.
love you in spite of yourself, but I'll leave you.
No, that's so.
And love you to death.
And that's still loving you unconditional. I'm here to support you. You know, you got a bad habit, you need some help. You know what? I'm going with you need a ride to the rehab center. I got you. But I'm not going to the rehab center with you. You understand what I'm saying? I love you in spite of your situation, but I can love you from a distance.
Yeah.
But what
you
he's
can love
saying
somebody
is
unconditional and still not put up with that nonsense.
Yes.
But what he's saying is that's how some men interpret it in their heads. When you say that, okay, now you're opening the door for me to do these things because now I'm going to put it to the test. You said now, but that's how some men think. That's how some men think.
Exactly.
If you're going to do something, you're going to do it. If you know every day you come home and I don't know, this is silly. I'm gonna say, you know, you come home every day and there's somebody standing in front of your building, you can just knock them out the way to get in the building. You can do it, or you can say, excuse me. But if they don't say nothing to you knocking them down, that don't mean you knock them down. But that's not, I digress. But I really tell you what I have a question with. We keep talking about relationships as if in intimate relationships. Most of my issues come from relationships other than intimacy. Relationships with friends, the people I choose to hang around, the people who I grew up with or go to church with don't want to change, so I won't change because I want to still be their friend. When the fact of the matter is, I know I'm going this way, or feel that, and they're still going this way, or what does the people we hang around say about us?
I got a question. For those who aren't married or haven't been married, have you ever told somebody you was in a relationship that you're going to love them unconditionally? Because I'm thinking that you're supposed to say that after you married.
No.
And some people don't even say that.
Anybody ever said that?
I've told somebody I love them and everything fell apart. That's why I kind of understand what he's saying when, you know, it's like, that's why I was like, wait a minute, girl, make sure before you release those words. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, but I understand what King Corey is saying. Like, once I tell you, it's something that happens, and not for every man, but it's something that happens, even if it's not intentional, even if you're not being malicious about it. There's something that happens when a man knows that he has you, that he got you. So for an example, let me lower my tone because I feel like now told me my volume was high. Okay, so for an example, you have the opportunity to cheat. A man that knows you ain't having that, like, nah, I need to go home to my lady. She gonna kill me if she find this out. But a man that knows if I do this, and even if she find out, she might, still be with me. That's going to play on the decision that you make in that moment.
That's not loving somebody unconditional.
That's not.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I get what you guys are saying. King Bernie and Queen M, I get what you guys are saying, but I'm telling you, it's something that happens when a man knows no matter what I do or say, and it doesn't make him a bad guy. It's just that he knows in the back of his head, if I do mess up in such a dramatic way or drastic way, she's still not leaving because these are her promises to me. I don't think that we should be so verbal. Loving my man unconditionally and loving my son unconditionally is two different things.
Yeah,
Two different. My son wouldn't use that against me.
I think what I hear you saying is kind of what I'm getting at. Like when the brother said, who actually says, I love you unconditionally? I've never heard it, but maybe a mother says that to their child. I never heard it between two adults. But secondly, I think it's not fair to say when a man knows he has you, because I know women and I have a really strong relationship with women. And
some women are the same way.
The same way.
They use you.
They're the same way.
But he
So
was
this is something
referencing his unique experience. So that's the perspective we're speaking from.
It's a universal problem.
Right.
We're speaking from
you're absolutely right, King Bernie. I don't disagree with you at all, because there's some women that know they have what they call a hand-packed man, or like, oh, it don't matter. He'll do anything I say, or he do it. Like I could treat him like crap. I know some women like that. Treat him like crap, he ain't going nowhere. So it is double-sided. You're absolutely right.
I think every situation that we address, it goes both ways. But because we're talking about men, because Corey specifically was talking about his unique experience, so we were looking from the male perspective. Men, we were talking about the fact that, we were talking about that there are some men, him included, that have heard that statement and interpret it that way, and deal with the situations that they choose to go into that way.
And how many women would admit the same thing?
As a woman, you don't have to put up
Corey,
with that. As a woman, you can say, no, I love you, but I'm not going to put up with that.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, real quick, can I make a suggestion?
But Tans had something to say, but go ahead.
Hold on. But I just wanted to add in, even though King Corey had that perspective, that's still Queen B. When you get into a new situation, I don't think anybody should be cautious about sharing your feelings with someone if you're open to having a relationship with somebody in fear that they're going to do something wrong to you, because that right there is a bondage mentality. You got to
exactly.
You got to remain free. So this is my point. And in Christianity, and I know most of us are, but while you're a woman of faith and you're looking for a relationship with somebody, I don't think it's healthy to utilize your past hurts and things to stop you from expressing yourself to that new man, because then you're
absolutely not. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying at all. But
okay, so I just wanted to
that's not what I'm saying at all, because I absolutely agree with you. Like, first of all, if it's right, I'm not even going to feel like hesitant on telling you. So that just says in the past it wasn't right. If I told you and then everything went left, you weren't really here for me anyway, or this relationship wasn't really meant to work out anyway. So I don't mean that at all. I absolutely understand what you're saying. I was just making a point.
I think the common point
just real quick. Can I make one quick suggestion real quick, everyone? Hold on 1 second, big bro. I want to make one quick suggestion. When any individual, and I'm going to use King Corey because this is kind of like the basis of my perspective. When any individual opts to share their personal perspective about a given situation, please, my kings and queens, let us not assess that anybody's personal description is a backdoor way of generalizing how they are implying for any gender. Because with all that we're saying and all of the responses, we fail, and Queen Shay said it, but I think it was so much going on that we kind of missed it. When Corey made the example, Corey was very clear and very, very specific that this was his personal example. So again, if we are going to make a response, please center your response on what Corey said specifically, and let's not take it as though his statement was intended to be a broad generalization, because that's not what it was. And a lot of the responses that we have been having is because we have assessed his personal clear statement as a broad assessment, and that's not the case.
And that's why when you say a broad assessment, do you mean all men? When you say, I make a broad assessment, am I making a broad assessment? How so? So I don't want to make that mistake.
No.
Give me like
Sure. So if Corey says specifically, you know what I'm saying? If Corey specifically says, okay, now for me personally, this is what I personally know. If I am in a relationship with a woman, and if the woman tells me that she's gonna love me unconditionally, for me personally,
right,
she can't tell that to me because I know how I am personally wired. So when he utilizes terms that signify that he's talking exclusively about him, then we miss the space if we seemingly go on the attack as though the statements that he is implying is a generalization to suggest that all men feel that way, or even to Bianca's.
It's not a statement. It's not a statement of an attack, in my opinion. What happens is you try to give a different perspective. So when you say that, when he says that that's how I feel, then when you give a different perspective, it may allow him to think of it in a different way. So it's not necessarily a personal attack. It's just, you like it like this, you really like it like this, but I might say you like just regular toast. But I might say, yeah, but have you tried toast with butter? And somebody else is saying, well, have you tried toast with margarine? We're not saying what he's saying is not correct, or, it doesn't apply to him personally. In my opinion, what we're doing is we're giving him alternatives to think about.
And perspective. And perspective.
As a listener, real quick, I'm sorry. As a listener, when I hear your responses, you don't respond with specifics. You respond with generalizations against a very specific and a specified response. So
all right, I have one for Corey. I've been trying to get it out.
Sure, I'm sorry.
My question is, in that case for you, would you rather that person do not share with you how she feel about you? Or, or in that case, would you?
Yeah, it's a good question. This is good. I love with condition.
I agree.
I love with condition.
Oh.
And I'm talking about the relationships that I've been with. There has not been a relationship that I've been in that I've loved a person unconditionally. I don't even know what that means. Outside of the offering that God has given me.
But you brought it up.
I'm still, what did you say, brother?
I said, but you brought it up.
Good answer.
That's good. That's good. Right. So, and what I'm saying is, I brought it up, and in bringing something up, it doesn't mean that you know all the nuances of that experience.
Right. Period, Corey.
Right. And so the reality of it is, I brought it up is because it is something that is confusing to me. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I'm yet trying to unpack. And so for me, there has been, just for me, there are people that I was in love with and that I did love, but I can't say that it was ever without condition. Mm-hmm. And let me name this. I have a child on the way, which may change the game for me completely. But I'm talking about romance. I'm talking about romance and intimacy here, right? There were things that I have experienced where I was just like, yeah, that feeling, that persisted for a while, and and that grace that was attached to it, that just thinking about, well, love keeps no record of wrong, and those different things. I was just like, yeah, that I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
This is going to be the end of the road for me. And there was one particular time that I felt a certain way about you, and that isn't here for me anymore. And so just, here's the thing. I think oftentimes when we have this conversation about whatever it may be, and if it's a controversial topic or if it's a hardy topic, the easiest thing to do and the safest thing to do is to generalize. And that allows for the spirit of displacement, right? Because when you generalize it, you can hide your own ugly stuff in the midst of the generalization.
Yeah, Corey, send me your Cash App.
I'm not here for that.
I have something to say also.
I'm gonna tell you the nitty gritty, and I'm gonna show up with my own thing, because I don't want to say something that's alarming or that people disagree with, and then say, I'm just generally speaking. Nope, it's what I did.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question, Corey? Would you rather be the one to say those words first before that person say it to you?
No, because he doesn't understand it yet.
No. I'm not saying the words I love you unconditionally. I'm talking about just
I love you.
I love you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. No, I don't have a say it first or second thing. I'm just gonna tell you whatever it is that I'm feeling outside of anything that makes me feel like that unconditional piece. That's the thing that's particularly triggering for me.
Unconditional.
Yeah. I love you. You mean a lot to me. You mean a lot to me. I love you. I'm growing with you. All of those nuggets, I'm completely here for. I love language. I'm here for it. I'm here. But the unconditional piece. Here's the thing. I've heard people say that they love people unconditionally in my life, and then I've seen them do things that I'm just like, I don't understand.
That's it, yeah.
Because what you just did for me is an evidence of that. And the way that you're talking about this person, and the way that they're talking about you, like I've had too many examples that maybe have jaded me in a sense.
That's probably what it is.
I just can't offer that up. And I know the ways that I've taken advantage of people when I knew that I could, because they had a very loose interpretation of what unconditional love meant.
Right.
Like Emma says, no, Emma's like, if I'm understanding you correctly, sister, Emma was sharing like, no, loving you unconditionally don't mean that I'm gonna tolerate everything that you do. But here's the thing. There's a difference between speaker's intent and listener's interpretation.
That's true.
So
listening.
So when a woman told me she loved me unconditionally, my interpretation of it wasn't what she meant.
Right.
But that goes back to definition. Everybody's definition is different.
It's different.
Every person's situation or definition of an experience is different. And again, we always talk about what we're doing. A lot of this is dogma. It's brought down from generation to generation to generation. Like Queen Emma said, her mother was submissive. So we don't know what that part that watching your mother and your father's dynamics has played in your relationships.
Right.
So again, I think that the reason that I guess I generalize, I don't mean to, but I try to look at so many different perspectives before I come up with my own. And because a lot of times when I go on my own thoughts by myself without having any input of, say, God, anybody, friends, family, I usually be messed up if I go on my own perspective. I'm the type of person where I need to say, you think I should do that on the phone? That's why I was trying to do the transition into relationships outside of intimacy. Because those are the relationships, for me, I can't speak for nobody else. The relationship I had with my sister who passed away would be more important than any relationship I had, because that was the longest relationship I had. You understand what I'm saying? So as I'm in 50s and I'm thinking about things we did when we were children, I have to think back, I got to call my sister. Oh, I can't because she's passed away. So my question is, what about relationships in everyday friendships and families? And again, for me, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask when I was following you guys for the last month or so. Like, why is it that we tend to, and I don't mean, we tend to talk about the end all and be all is relationships, the marriage, getting a man, getting a woman. What about relationships with children? What about relationships that you've had with your mother, that you dogma that you've given your children? I would love to hear more of things like that. And I would love to hear from a Christian point of view.
So, so Bernie, I wanted to first say, you know, we talked about that in a previous episode. It's coming soon. So we got you. Friendships, you know, and other relationships.
Yeah, and they're very, and to me, they're very, very important to me. And
absolutely.
even more so than what's the word I'm looking for? Than a relationship. Because your best friend knows more about you than your mate does.
Absolutely. That's true. We're going to talk about that in the upcoming episode. But also, Kevin had something to say too before we moved on to the other.
Okay, Kevin, I just apologize.
All right, now I'm speaking in general. Corey, this is not towards you. I'm just speaking in general. So if somebody said they love me, let's just say me unconditional, right? And in my mind frame, I'm thinking, okay, that means I could do whatever I want. Then I know that I'm not the person for her. You get what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't have been thinking that. I would have been thinking, okay, this is the woman who I'm gonna be with for the rest of my life because I know she don't play. She laid everything down on the table, and I want to be with her. You get what I'm saying? But as soon as I think, and I mean, I could go travel the world with my boys and do whatever, and this, I know that I'm not the right person for her.
No, absolutely. And I think that I'm sorry, T.
No, go ahead, because I'm gonna be in our last couple of minutes on this particular video. Our time is running down, so I want to go back to a question that Queen Na had given us earlier, which I know we're gonna need more than an hour or so to even talk about it, but because we talked about it on this show, I want to bring it back before we actually close out. And it was basically giving the male perspective. You kings, we want your perspective on women. Most of us, all of us on this channel are women of God. And we are taught to save ourselves before marriage. This is taught in the Bible. This is the word of God. But we want to know, you know, what is your take on that when women want to wait? And it's like, you know, that do not, if you do and if you don't, you know, either way you lose. So we just want to get your perspective on women that want to wait before marriage. And what do you guys think about that?
I want to answer that if y'all kings, if y'all don't mind. I never, at one point in time in my life, years ago when I was in my 20s, I never looked at. I thought that was necessary. So as I got older, and if my mate want to wait, if she want to wait till she get married, I should go along with that. If I love her that enough, I respect her wishes. You know what I'm saying? I respect her wishes because that's what men of God do. That's what we supposed to do. Anyway, that's in the Bible. So I would respect that.
Okay, let me add something. So if y'all do wait, you get married, and then it's trash for the as far as the females. Like now, her husband.
That's my friend.
Her husband.
Mine too.
How fast are you gonna get her annulment? Because I know you're not gonna stay.
Can I just say one thing?
Okay.
I know it's gonna sound idealistic.
Can I
know it's gonna sound idealistic. Huh?
You gotta try the spirit by the spirit.
Well, let me land somewhere in the middle. So
if you try to get ready to watch some movies.
Okay, so two things. I want to land somewhere in the middle. So King Ty said that if his woman, wants to save herself. Now, is she already a virgin, or is it a situation where?
Well, you don't know. You don't know. You ain't slept with her.
What does it matter?
Yeah, why does it matter?
Oh, very interesting.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
listen,
So let me take
listen,
2 hour
listen.
special.
Hold on.
Well, let me take that perspective off the table. So King Ty says
Why
that
does it matter?
if he loves his woman and if his woman wants to wait to get married, he'll wait. King Kevin's whole situation is that if I wait and find out that it's trash, then it is, you know, A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Let me meet somewhere in the middle. I believe at the end of the day that when it comes to sexual intimacy, communication is thoroughly important. Even if you wait, I believe that at some point in time, both the man and the woman need to be vocal enough with your level of nasty. Okay.
What in the world?
Come on.
Listen.
Pineapples. Let me know.
Listen. I have no problem.
Bypass the collection plate.
Listen, I have no problem waiting as long as you, because listen, you know, I need you to know I'm not Pee Wee Herman. I need you to know I'm Tasmanian Devil. So at the end of the day, you need to at least be vocal in your communication, because if you wait and then at the end of the day, you know, you think that you're getting Brother John and then you getting Rajon, you know what I'm saying? Then you're not mentally ready and prepared. So whether you're waiting like brother, like King Ty, or whether you're communicating somewhere in between, like King Kevin, I just think that there needs to be a level of understanding so that you know what I'm saying? Again, there may be some women, whether they are completely, if they've never had the experiences before, and then there may be some women who feel like I used to do this all the time, so I want to take a moment to kind of give my body back to the Lord. And I respect that.
Reggie.
But
King
you know
Reggie.
you're still not a virgin if you
there,
get back to the Lord. You know that,
real
right?
fast.
Hold on,
You know how you go
that
to a
that right there. Go ahead, King Kevin.
What? You know how you go to a restaurant, they like, let me get a sample. Let me try that and see if I want it.
Oh my God.
Sample platter.
So
Because
can I be
here's-
idealistic though? Can I be idealistic for a second? I know I'm a woman and then this wasn't my question, but I just, So I feel like, as men and women of God on this panel, I feel like if we say that we trust God and we trust his direction, we trust him to bring us somebody that's not going to cheat. Trust him to bring us somebody that's funny, that's outgoing, that's spontaneous, that's honest, that all these things that we look for. And we trust, I believe God is going to give me exactly who I'm supposed to have, right? I believe him for that. So then if he's going to give you all those other wonderful things and everything that you need, not necessarily what you want, why don't we trust him to make us compatible or bring us a companion that is sexually compatible to what we need? We ask him for everything else.
But also too, we're human. We're human. And
that's true.
The blessings that may come to you may come to me in a different way. And you know what I'm saying? Because I don't believe blessings come like with instructions. I think that what really should happen, well, I shouldn't say what should happen. What I believe happened from my experience of seeing and talking, because I communicate with senior citizens. I just love to talk. So I love to gain knowledge. So I always ask my grandmother, so how did you meet Granddad? What was it about him versus the guy that lived down the road that you didn't give a chance? And a lot of times I think what happens is that even if you're not having sex before marriage, there's something that comes with waiting. There's something that comes with waiting, right? Because not only are you following spiritually what it says, but it also mentally gets you prepared for what, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all are becoming one. You don't become one when you have sex. You actually come together prior to that.
Right.
Come on.
Am I correct in stating, you understand what I'm saying? So
right.
we put up so much emphasis on sex.
Exactly.
And compatibility. Because there was this movie I saw one time, right? And there was this guy, he was a sex expert. And whenever he had sex with his wife, she was a virgin. She was in pain, and they didn't know what to do. So guess what they did? They went to a doctor, and the doctor said, well, you know what? The way she's built, this is not good for her scientifically. So what did they do? They chose another way, and they stayed together for like 50 years. So you understand what I'm saying? So waiting is not always a problem. Waiting and not having communication is the problem.
Exactly.
Also,
Kevin?
I think y'all.
No, I don't agree with that.
Did you hear that, King Kevin?
I don't agree with that.
I think y'all should trust God, and also when y'all pray, y'all should pray to God and be, tell him what y'all want.
Okay. Never added that in my prayer. I'm a start.
And they said, be careful what you pray for. Sometimes you might just get it.
So be intentional about what you pray for. Don't pray amiss, girl. Child, ask for what you want now.
That's right. Because you pray amiss and you will miss.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. But Kevin, I'm interested in the fact that you don't believe in communication because I might be a little wet behind the ears, but I think communication in any situation is what's key. And things like intimacy, period. Not even talking about sexual.
I didn't say I didn't believe in communication.
No, I know, but I'm saying you don't believe that communication is what's necessarily gonna fix.
It's not
Bad intimacy. So I'm saying in any intimate situation, I think communication and you saying what you like, she's saying what she likes in any intimate setting, I think it helps you to be better at what you're doing. Patience, like honesty, communication, transparency,
right.
All those things help you to build up an intimate relationship. So I think even if it is bad the first time, you have so much time because we're talking about sex after marriage now, right?
Like
so you have so
movie.
much time to make it better.
Yeah.
Right?
all right. Well,
what happens when y'all get 100 years old? I mean,
No, I do
believe, and you're not doing it. I know you don't have a lot of relationship experience. Nobody's doing it at 100 years old.
But wait,
okay, because I won't be.
I do believe.
I won't be.
How we know that?
I do believe.
Trust me, I just told you. I'm hanging with a lot of old people. They're not.
Once you fall in love with a person, I do believe that sexual part of it all falls in line because you're going from your feelings, not just the sexual part of it. But I believe that once you love a person, everything else falls in line.
Right. Yep. Sex and intimacy is not the same.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. That's right. That's
and
true.
that's what we have to come to the realization.
Because y'all not telling the truth right now.
Call it out, Kevin. Call it out.
Kevin,
that's true.
Yes, we are. We telling our truth.
Kevin, listen, I'm gonna be as brutally honest with you. Having a desire and a thought to want to have sex does not necessarily mean that you have to act on that desire. I believe at the end of the day, and I've spoken to a number of women who have informed me that before the sexual act even happens, that they've already had it in their mind with you mentally before you even touch them. So what's important in my very humble situation is developing that intimacy space, because here's the danger of having sex without intimacy. Let's utilize your philosophy when you want to get you a little sample. Let's say if she's already created in her mind what the sexual experience is going to be, and because you choose not to wait, you just want to kind of go and get you a sample. What happens
if she
when
don't like
your sample doesn't match hers?
But listen, check this out. If listen, if you was listening to me when I said that, I was saying it as far as for the queens, meaning like the guy wasn't good enough for them. That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
But you know what? I want to say this too. Women will stay with men who are not good in bed, and all of them tell me because they love them, they have children with them, they're great providers, there are other things. I've never heard a man say, my wife is bad in bed, but I stay with her because she's a good mother. She cooks well. No, they're two separate things, and they're two different creatures.
That's right.
But now this is starting. Like I said, I'm starting not to believe some of this now. Just a little bit.
You starting not to believe some of it, Bernie?
Yeah, just a little bit. Is a little very Walt Disney for me. Because the reality of the situation is this. People who are strong in their belief and decide to wait, when you get with that person, you've not only had this in your mind, but you also have.
Oh man!
Look at the devil.
Oh, sorry, Ty.
Reason why I say I would wait, because I was in a situation that I would train myself to wait, because if I could lay in the bed with you and not do nothing, you're gonna get good at it until she ready. Like it's like I've been in situations like that before. You know what I'm saying? I have been in a lot of situations like that. You know what I'm saying? I take it to the shower, really. Like, you know what I mean? So it won't really bother me too much, because it's all in the mind.
It
you
is
know what I'm
all
saying?
in the
like
mind.
I'm not a sex addict. Like nothing
especially
like
for
that.
women.
So
Right?
it's all in the mind. Because
I agree.
If you got to test yourself as a man, you're going to be tested. That's what God do. He tests you. Let me see. So it ain't no such thing having a sex drive. It's all in the mind. So you're going to be tested by God.
Right.
So
what if it take y'all 3
you
years to
fail
get
or
married?
you pass?
What if it take y'all 3 years to get married? Then what?
What if?
Be honest.
What if you don't have any self-control?
How many years? How many?
You know what I'm saying?
3.
Because like the issue is not the years, Kevin. When the rubber meets the road, it's about self-control. One of the fruits of the spirit is called temperance, which means self-control. So if you are in anybody that has that same philosophy, you know, we are naturally sexual creatures. So I'm not saying again that the desire, because listen, I haven't met a man yet that has looked at a woman and said, you know what? She has a wonderful personality. So so that's not the situation. We are very visual creatures. So I agree with you that we are very visual creatures. But at the end of the day, the difference between us and animals is our ability to have self-control. You know, and for me, the implication of us waiting as men is a matter of what's important. Again, not trying to be self-righteous, not trying to act holier than thou, but what's important? Me having some, but me having some PUSSY or me having a partner. Because ultimately that's where the line comes, because the reality of the situation is there's going to come a day and time in your life. You know, what happens when you get sick? What happens if she gets sick? You know what I'm saying? What happens when that drive after 20 years of marriage, you know, is no longer where it is? You guys flirt with each other, you know what I'm saying? But that part of your space is not as important. You know what I'm saying? There has to be something else that you have that serves as the glue for your relationship. Because after a while, your get up and go is going to get up and go. You know what I'm saying? So if the fabric of your relationship is based on sex, when sex is no longer either important to her, or when you no longer have physical ability to do what you used to do, then there's going to be some challenges inside of your relationship. So again, for me, and this is me personally, this is Reggie Steele. Okay, I'm gonna talk about me so that you don't have to. At the end of the day, some of the most trying time in my life happened as a byproduct of sex. I used to deal with low self-esteem and depression for a long time, but I knew that I was good in bed. So my thing was, while I was in the process of trying to discover who I was what I did to appease my own sensibility is I would find myself at the time sleeping with random people. You understand what I'm saying? You know, when I got married initially, I did not get married to get divorced. All right. I don't think nobody gets married to get divorced. But when that situation happened, let me testify about myself and why I recognize that intimacy is so important. I used to be at a place to where my kids would wake up in the middle of the night. And when I got divorced, I could not sleep in silence. So even to this very day, I watch TV. And I got to a situation to where, for me, I just needed to have a body in the bed. So I would use sex, something that I was good at, you know what I'm saying, as a means of appeasing my own sensibilities. Listen, at the end of the day, half of the women I dealt with before I got myself situated, I wasn't even into them. They were just a body in the bed. So once I discovered wholeness within myself, and I knew the importance of intimacy, then for me, sex is not a situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, you know, if my wife wants it, I don't do what I have to do because I'm in a married context. But before that happened, you know what I'm saying? All of the situation of saying, yeah, well, let me just break her off a little bit just to see what's. Listen, I already know that there has to be much more to me than just me being good in bed. Because can I be honest? Listen, having good sex don't pay no bills. Having good sex does not show her that she's valued. Having good sex does not show you that you're valued. I'll never forget, I was watching this movie with Sanaa Lathan and Wesley Snipes. It was a book by Toni Morrison, to where he came and was fixing her brownstone. And while he was still trying to make sense of himself, he gave her good sex. So there were a lot of stuff that she dealt with because of the sexual component. But after a while, she came to the realization that although he was great in that area, he was missing everything else. Who is called disappearing acts, not something new, disappearing acts. You know what I'm saying? So for me, again, I had to come to a working space within myself exclusively, to where at the end of the day, if I have self-control, and to go back with, I believe, what Queen Shay and Queen Nee had dealt with, you have to come to the realization that when God is ready to align you with the person who you're supposed to spend your life with, God knows who you are through and through. You know what I'm saying? But if you can't have the ability to have self-control in one area of your life, then you don't have control in no area of your life. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not jabbing, you know, you my man 50 grand, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately the question is, if this situation is so strong for me, then what challenges do I have with self-control? Because that's the bigger issue. The bigger issue is not me getting a little taste so that I know what the scenario will be by the time I lock up. The situation is, what is it in me that creates a context to where I struggle with self-control? Because that's the bigger issue.
That's
because
real good.
If I have an issue with self-control in this area, then I have an issue with temperance and self-control in other areas. And how does my lack of self-control impact how I interact in this space? How does my lack of self-control impact how I act in this space? You know what I'm saying? Like there were things, and I'll say this respectfully because she my eighth now. There are things that I had to grow up in within myself that creates a context where me and Tansy are cool now. You understand what I'm saying? Like for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? There was some very deep-seated depressive spaces that I dealt with within my person that created blocks. And not just in my relationship with Tansy, but my relationship with a lot of people. You understand what I'm saying? So once I was able to gain control of that situation and get healing in that situation, then it started to create a trickle effect of every other area. Now, I literally was just at a place last month where I brought her on to be a guest for my ministry. And I encouraged her. I thank God for her. I thank God for her man. You know what I'm saying? And it's real love. It's real love. You know what I'm saying? When I was at my first church, you know what I'm saying, prior to the church that I was at right now, Tansy came to my celebration. And people were tripping, like, well, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, why shouldn't we? Like, that's my people. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, for me, when I think about this notion of waiting, it's such a much broader perspective for me that centers itself around a lack of self-control.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How does this struggle that I'm facing with self-control impact how the lack thereof plays a part in other areas of my life, respectfully?
Hey, Reggie, I tell you that right there, it's food for thought, for real, because that's the bottom line. It really is. That's the bottom line. And Queen, we need to take heed because that could be a whole nother show, huh? Okay.
Right.
We can expand on that. You know, our kings.
Well said, Reggie. King Reggie, well said.
Well said. Really. Queens and Kings, I tell you, this show has been amazing. I didn't say much because I was just so blown away by the conversation and the transparency of everybody. And I really thank all of you for your transparency. I'm serious. I know for sure that somebody, them kings and queens out there that's going to watch this are going to definitely be made better because they've sat with us in these segments. We thank you, kings. We really do. Queens, let's give our kings a round of applause. You guys are amazing. And listen, Queenz Quarters, we're going to do this again because this was a mighty blessing. It really was. But Queenz Quarters, you have been a part of our experience. We always remember there is a king and a queen in you. Remember all of our social media platforms. Do not stop supporting. We need your input. We thrive on you. So we're looking forward to see you next Wednesday. We'll be coming with some next goodness again for you, okay? So we'll see you again. Queenz Quarters.
Good night, everybody.
We are powerful, strong, and rulers in our own right. There's a